Willie Randolph will join us here momentarily as well, as he's working for a great cause. We'll get to that here momentarily. Bernie, how are you? Thanks for the time this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I mean, this is a great honor every time I get a chance to talk to you guys. Being in the pulse of the sports world in New York, and moreover, it's great, it's great. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, Bernie, the pulse of the sports world for the Yankees is like two thumbs way, way up. And we should mention that you are joining us today. You've got this Breathless Ballad contest going on, this campaign. It's a challenge. It's really, really cool. It's in honor of your late father, who unfortunately passed away in 2001 of an interstitial lung disease. But how you honored him, of course, because you are Bernie Williams. You wrote a song about him, and then you asked people to create lyrics to that song. And then the fans can go and vote and see which one is the best. And it's this amazing opportunity and really, really cool way to pay tribute to your late father. And we want to ask you all about that in just one moment. Like, what I want to know from you in terms of baseball right now, Moose and I will never know what this feels like. What Giancarlo Stanton is going through in these 11 games, he's hitting .500. He can't get out. He's so locked in. Bernie, what does that feel like as a hitter?
Oh my God, it's an incredible feeling. You work so hard through your whole career to get to moments like this, and you want to make them last for as long as you can possibly, can make them last. I think the career and the year of a player depends on these like peaks and valleys, and try to make the peaks a lot, higher than the valleys. I think, going through a zone like this, the way that I would call it is just being right into the zone, right in that wave, like a surfer. And it seems like it's a really great set for Giancarlo right now. He's riding in, and he's not really missing a lot of opportunities to capitalize on pitchers' mistakes. We all know how strong he is, and I think he's realizing the fact that he doesn't really have to pull the ball to hit the ball with power. He's always have this approach to hit the ball the other way. Sometimes he can be a little bit overzealous about his pull hand, trying to hit the ball, into his power. But right now, it seems like he cannot do anything wrong. And when you have a person like that can hit the ball like that and has a pretty good idea of the strike zone, look out, because his mistakes are going to be hits, but he's going to hit the ball out.
Well, Bernie, you mentioned you want to keep it going. Like, how do you try and keep it going? I mean, is it all about routine, what you normally do before the course of a game? How hot he is over the last 11 games. You've had those kind of stretches as a hitter. What do you try and do? Just change absolutely nothing about what you're doing?
Well, I think you have to be good determining, the causes of your slips. I think that for the most part, as a player, I was able to internalize why was I failing at a certain point. Was it the umpire making a bad pitch? Was it the pitcher making a pitch on the block? Was it something that I could not possibly do? And then once you realize that there's something that you cannot do anything about, then you have to let it go, learn from it, and then just move over. Move forward to your next at bat, your next game, and then your next week. But I think it's a good thing to be able to determine whether it is something that you can do to improve on your swing or your mechanics, or is something that you have absolutely no control over. And making that distinction, I think, is helpful for a player because you get all these things and say, well, I cannot do anything about that. I got to move forward to the next at bat. Or if you're doing something that is really hindering your mechanics, work on it right away. I think making that distinction really worked for me during the course of my career.
And it's always great when you get a pop-up that says Willie Randolph has joined the chat. So we've got Bernie Williams now. We've got Willie Randolph. Welcome. Hey. I mean, this is pretty good. We got 5 World Series rings and 11 All-Star appearances right now on the Zoom, which is pretty amazing for both of us. So thank you so much, guys. And we'll get more into that Breathless Ballad challenge in just a moment because we know how near and dear it is to you, Bernie, obviously. And Willie, you're going to be a judge here for this very cool music contest. But Willie, now that you're here and welcome, okay.
Good to meet you guys.
The Mets fire a hitting coach, Willie, and we got to know from you, right? What does this do to the team this early in the season? You make a change like this. What are the ripple effects?
Well, the ripple effects could be pretty strong. Depends how the players react to it. Obviously, you saw a couple of players respond with the emotions, like Pete Alonso and a few of the other guys. So it could go either way, Maggie. It's really a tough call. Sometimes guys react to it, and sometimes can throw you into a little tailspin. They split yesterday, so we'll see how it goes forward. But that's kind of touchy. That's why I was so surprised they did it when they did. Not the fact that they go a great hitting coach like Chili Davis, but the fact that they were starting to swing the bat better, and then they threw this little monkey wrench in there, and that could take you in a tailspin. But we'll see how they respond to it. But I was surprised that they made that move when they did.
You know, Willie, one more on that analytics in baseball. I want to get Bernie's thoughts on it as well. Do you think it's, there's a place for it? There's also a heartbeat to the game. Where's the balance here? Because I feel like some baseball fans get frustrated by the fact that, the analytics and judging players and all the information that's there is kind of overtaken the game.
Yes, that's a great point, Moose. That's the key, the balance. If you have a balance to it with analytics, which I think that is here to stay, and there's so much good that can come out of it, you put it together, but you cannot lose the heartbeat of the game. You can't lose the feel for the players and how they want to, approach. Because not every player can decipher all the information. You look at a guy like Gary Sanchez. I think that's why Gary struggles at times, because they overload him with too much information sometimes, and sometimes it's best just to be natural. So I think that there's a happy marriage there somewhere, but I don't think you can go too far one way or the other. If you do, then you kind of put handcuffs on certain players. But I just wish they would go back to just playing naturally, just playing the game. The shifts, I think they need to get rid of. I mean, if I was playing today, Bernie, if you think we were playing today, we hit 400 today with the guys giving us the whole side of a field, what do you think?
I'll be hitting 1,000 probably. I think, I was one player that would like to spread the ball, so I don't think they will have a shift on me. I think, players that refuse to make an adjustment, depending on where they're being pitched also. I mean, that also makes, a strong determination. But I just refuse to not being able to take that left side of the field and try to make something happen. I think, we were as successful as we were, not because of the fact that there were a few people that could hit a whole bunch of home runs. We were successful because we were able to work the counts and work the pitchers to the fifth or sixth inning, trying to get into that bullpen early in the game, and making that, having that mentality to say, hey, if they're not going to give me anything to hit, I'll leave it up to the next guy, and the guy's going to leave it up to the next guy because I have confidence that that guy's going to have my back. I think it's just a little bit of a shift in mentality, but obviously, man, that this shifts, they will work for me though. I will be a much better hitter if they shifted on me.
You got to take advantage of the situation of the game. You have a situation where you have a tying run on third base, and all you need is a base hit. You have to take advantage of that. I was watching the Cub game last night, and Rizzo's a big guy, big first baseman, and he won the ball game by taking the ball the other way, and the weak ground ball in the hole, and they won the game. That's when you have to adjust. The game, the game is predicated on winning the battle. At the end of the day, the one who scores the most runs, the one that wins. So to me, it's not all about home runs. Yeah, home runs are sexy, they're great. But every once in a while, you have to take what they give you and attack the defense. Oh, man, I would love to hit nowadays, Bernie. I tell you what. It's playing straight up with me. I was a straight-up hitter, but the bottom line is that you have to take advantage of what they give you. And I see so many situations where, throw the analytics out the window. Just play the game, the feel of the game, what's in front of you, okay, the flow of the game, and just beat the opposition in any way you can.
I think also taking advantage of what I call the intangibles, the thing that you cannot put in numbers. Hitting the cutoff man, not overthrowing it, moving the runner over, bunting a guy over, just, having an automatic, just drive him in, with less than 2 outs if it's on third base, things like that, may not be reflected in numbers. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are in a way that I don't know. But those things I do consider intangibles that would very well make a difference in the outcome of a game. And once you pile those up, I mean, you could talk about, difference between 10 and 20 games in the course of a season that you're winning just because you're executing the fundamentals and just going into the intangibles and playing the game the right way.
Baseball's a game of adjustments. Make them adjust to you. That's the key to make them adjust.
You're listening to two legendary voices. No, hell no, not Moose and I. You're listening to Bernie Williams and Willie Randolph. They're the two legendary voices, and they're joining us because they are taking part in a Breathless Ballad Challenge that we will get to in just a sec. You talked about when you have that feel for the game, and Bernie, I'll go to you first, and then Willie, I'd love for you to answer this too. when you lose the feel for the game. Like we talked before, Willie, you just jumped on about Giancarlo Stanton. He's so locked in right now. It's like amazing to see. On the flip side, Francisco Lindor doesn't seem to really have a feel. And honestly, last night watching the first game of the doubleheader with the Mets, maybe seems like the lack of hitting is now carrying out to the field because we see him make an uncharacteristic error in that first game, allows the run the batter to reach base, and then next batter up, what happens? 2-run home run, and really just changed the entire complexity of the game. So Bernie, for you first, when you're struggling like Lindor is, how do you get yourself out of it?
Well, I think I need it in my career. I can only talk about my personal experience and what I've seen in other players playing in my career. I think that as a player, you have to really make that distinction between your offense and your defense. They cannot be linked. You have to realize, as I did as a player, that I could be of service and as valuable to a team, making a great catch on the outfield. Throwing a guy out, even though I didn't have many opportunities to do that, but just playing the game the right way could actually contribute to the outcome of a game, not necessarily being the great slugger that you could have the possibility that you can be. Being an overall complete player could be such a determinant factor in the outcome of a game, and it might be a game that you strike out 4 times. And then, it has happened to me. The last, inning, game on the line, I dive and make a great catch. Even though I struck out 4 times, we win because of that play. I mean, who cares if I struck out 4 times? The main thing is a victory. And I think, having that mentality not to rely solely on your offensive prowess to be an impactful player in the game, I think people need to think about that a little bit more. And the great, what was the coach that we had? Frank Howard. He used to say, if you can't do it with the lumber, you got to do it with the leather. So to me, it was just an indication that you need to separate both sides of your, of the game, the offense and the defense, and just kind of make sure that you do the best. You can control more of the defense as opposed to the offense. And, those are the things that you should never take for granted. Playing good defense, playing good the game the right way, those are things that you cannot control. I mean, that you can control, rather.
Sure.
The things that you cannot control are maybe the offense. It might be a little bit more difficult. But I also say this. Lindor is a great player, and at the end of the day, the cream always rises to the top. I mean, he's playing in a city that he's not used to, a system that he may not be used to. But at the end of the day, we all know that he's going to hit and he's going to be a good player for the team, and he's going to help him a lot. So just give him some time.
That's a key point, Bernie. I was going to piggyback off that. It's a natural progression. I mean, as great a player as Frankie Lindor is, I've seen guys come and go. I've been in this town all my life. This is what happens. You struggle through the first time around, whatever, because you're trying to impress, you're trying to justify the contract, you're pressing a little bit. Watch his body language. Last night I saw a lot because, the night before the first game, when he struck out, he had this really kind of like cavalier kind of reaction to striking out. Not that he was being cavalier about it, but you can see his body language. It was bothering him. It's eating him up right now. He's just relaxing, deep breath. He's going to be fine. But you see guys that come to New York with all the expectations and the big contract. It's natural sometimes just to try to do too much. He wants to get off to a good start. He wants to be a leader. He wants to be in the community. Right now, he needs to focus on baseball, get himself together. He's going to be fine. The error the other night, that happens. I mean, he's an excellent defensive guy.
Yeah.
He's been playing great defense all year. He just got a little bit high on his throw, and the ball sailed on him a little bit, but he's going to be fine with that. Frankly, in the game. But I've seen guys like him go through this when they come to New York for the first time. Cleveland's a different animal. Kansas City, these are different places to play. But when New York comes up, it's just an adjustment you're going to make. And after a while, you're going to see he's going to settle in a little bit. Fans are going to love him. He's going to have a tremendous year.
We're chatting with Bernie Williams and Willie Randolph. Bernie, the ability to handle the moment, right? You were a great regular season player. You were an unbelievable postseason player. So were you, Willie. And both of you guys, to handle the pressure in October, right? You can't put a number on it. Bernie, how were you able to kind of be able to focus in and be as productive and as good offensively as you were during your years in the Bronx?
Well, I think I would attribute it to a number of things. Which the most important of them was, to me, just be able to know in my heart and my mind that I have prepared. Preparation to me was the key. because knowing that I had prepared gave me the peace of mind that I needed to have to be able to say, hey, I've done everything in my power to get ready for this game, and then whatever happens is going to happen, but it's not going to be because of lack of trying. I already did my work. I'm just going to let it rip. And the other aspect of that is trusting that preparation. Because I've seen so many guys, practicing and hitting the ball a ton, in the batting practice and doing this great thing. And then it seems like from the moment that the practice ends and the game starts, they lose all that confidence. It's like they're not trusting the fact that they can do this. And, that kind of weighs on your mind in a situation where you're not completely sure of yourself and you're not in control as much as the control that you can have on the batter's box. It messes with your head, man. And that... Yeah, man, Willie could tell you about it. I mean, you can feel 100% mentally, but if you don't have that preparation and that sort of background foundation saying, hey, nobody can get me out today because I have worked my tail off to make sure that that does not happen. So I think, having that, and that is actually collective. You start leading by example, and it's contagious. People pick up on that and say, oh, if he can do it, why cannot I do it? And if I cannot do it, the guy behind me can do it. So it's an individual thing that becomes a team thing. And it's one of the best things that you could ever experience as a teammate, having that, your attitude being, the reason what things are contagious during the whole clubhouse, and everybody starts reacting to your attitude, and then it becomes a thing. It becomes a culture. And next thing you know, you're like 10 games ahead, and then you're in the postseason, and every year you're in the postseason. So I think as far as preparation, the other aspect is trusting your preparation and the mentality that you need to have after that.
Yeah, I've always felt that great teams, really good teams, know how to lean on each other. When you get to the playoffs, you've already kind of done your heavy lifting. So now it's time to kind of really lean on each other. And you know that by your teammates and the preparation, like Bernie said. But to me, it's time to show off. I always felt like it was time to really show your skills. You're the only game in town for the most part. You're on center stage, and you got a chance to get that big ring. These trophies behind me here tell you what it's all about. So that's what it made it easier for me. It was almost like an exhale a little bit. The pressure's still there because you want to win the World Championship, but you feel like you can't do it on your own. When you make it small, make it easy, lean on each other, that's when you get a little rotation going over them. You have good pitching, you got a chance to get there. So for me, I that was the most fun part of the whole season, when you get to a spot where you got a chance to get that ring. And when you get that, the adrenaline starts flowing, you start believing in what you feel, and your teammates kind of rally around you, and you get that feel of, we're invincible. Man, I've been on some great teams, but that was always the theme with those teams, is that when we got to the playoffs as Yankees, we knew we had a chance to win, and we just kind of said, listen, you know what? I want to show off a little bit in front of my family and friends, but you know what? We're going to do this as a collective group, and we did a great job of it. That 98 team, Bernie, was unbelievable, man. 96. Oh. I can go on down the line, all these great teams we had, but that was the defining thing for us, that we all knew about leaning on each other. And you talk about passing the baton, that's really what it boils down to, whatever. Not trying to be the hero, but having fun in that environment.
Bernie Williams, Willie Randolph, both joining us. And, Bernie, the reason why you guys are both here today, talk baseball with us, which we always love, but also because you have a really cool contest going on right now. It's open for fans, and anyone who wants to go, you can vote, because I can't imagine anything really sweeter, more long lasting than writing a song for someone who you love and honoring their legacy. And that's what you did for your father, who passed away from an interstitial lung disease back in 2001. So you wrote a song, and Para Don Berna, and you're asking fans.
Great, yes.
Really?
There you go, Maggie.
That's kind of you to say. You asked certain people to write lyrics for this song, and then fans can go and vote on which song they like the best. Now, Willie is a judge, so that's why he ties into this whole thing, along with our very own Sweeney Murdy and some others. Very, very fun. But obviously, this is in memory of your father, and you wanted to combine your two passions, which was, honoring his memory, but also writing a song for him. What was this process like for you?
It was a very exciting process, and I really have to thank all the people that have given, their time and effort. Willie, one of my mentors, I always say it. I think, the whole thing started with me making a tribute to my father. He was my hero. He was the one that taught me how to play the game of baseball. He spent countless hours with me as a little kid, instilling all those great values in me, playing the game the right way, hustling, working hard, giving 100%. and all the time. And when he passed away from this disease, it's a respiratory condition. It's called idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, which my dad had. It's basically scarring of the tissue of the lung. It's a very painful and slow death. I would not recommend it to my worst enemy. You feel like you're drowning every day. It's a terminal disease. People get, an average 3 to 5 years once they're diagnosed with the condition. So since 2017, I've been partnering with Boehringer Ingelheim on this campaign called the Breathless campaign, which is basically trying to raise awareness about idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. What happened was that last year, with our global pandemic, going, most of my efforts to bring awareness to this condition have been sort of squashed down because a lot of it was interacting with people, talking to patients, talking to doctors, doing the media things on baseball fields. So we came up with this idea of putting lyrics to the song that I wrote for my dad however many years ago. It was 19, 20 years ago. It was a success. We opened it up to the public. We have about 70 entries. Of those 70, we narrowed it down to 5, and we were so fortunate to assemble this great group of judges. Of course, Willie Randolph, we've got people like Paul Schaefer, Queen Latifah, the Bacon Brothers, Arthur Hanlon, Sweeney Murdy. I mean, people from all walks of life and all kinds of experiences going into and examining all these lyrics to see which ones would touch them, and were, the best in their mind. But the problem was that they were all so good, so heart-wrenching and so gut-wrenching that it was nearly impossible to determine one winner. So we're opening the opportunity for the public to see these tunes and hear them, and just to have them voting to determine which tune that they like the best. And that tune is going to be rewarded with being recorded with a professional crew, a professional singer, with the new lyrics, incorporated in the ballad. And we're going to see what happens after that. But at the end of the day, it's a tribute to my father and to raise awareness about idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis and try to get as many people to understand the disease, and perhaps if they know about themselves or somebody that they love that may have the symptoms associated with this, to go to their doctor and get diagnosed immediately. We don't want this thing lingering in your life, or to be able to rule it out so you can focus on other things.
Bernie, voting's open till May 12th. So for people out there, Facebook, Instagram, how can they go out there and vote on all the entries?
Yeah, go to my all social outlets in Facebook and Twitter, Bernie Williams Official, Instagram, all over the place. They have an opportunity to see the lyrics and vote on them to see which one touches them, and they determine which one is the best. And that they're going to be a determining factor to figure out who's the winner, even though I do put a lot of stake in the judgment of these great judges that we have assembled. I mean, obviously they have done a great job, but we have determined that we need to get the public involved dually, just to raise awareness and to make it easier on us to determine which one is going to be the winning song.
Now, does Queen Latifah get a little bit more pull than the other judges,
Than
Bernie?
Sweeney? No,
than Sweeney Murdy. Does Queen Latifah get a little bit more pull than Sweeney?
I don't think so. I think
yes, sweet.
I don't know. Queen Latifah may have the experience of being really on the pulse of the Yankees and the sports. So there's a completely different background of people that we actually designed, would put together so they can have a different perspective in their judgment. But I mean, every time you have an opportunity to work with Queen Latifah, in the same breath with Willie Randolph and the Bacon Brothers and Sweeney Murdy, I mean, what a combination. Paul Schaefer, I forgot to mention, is involved as one of the judges, this iconic figure in the music industry. So, I mean, it's a win-win for everybody. It's a great cause, and I am really excited to see, what the future holds for this.
I got one last one for you guys, and that is this, because Maggie and I both like the extra inning rule, right, in Major League Baseball, right? The 7-inning doubleheaders, what baseball is doing now. And we're not bothered by it. There's a lot of baseball fans that can't stand it, guys. Willie, what's your take on, and then get your thoughts, Bernie, as well. What's your take on what baseball and Manfred are trying to do with the game right now?
You're talking about the specific rule on the extra inning?
Yeah, the extra inning, man on second base, the 7-inning double headers, the 3-batter minimum for relief. What they're trying to do to the game to kind of speed it up.
I like some of what they're doing. The extra inning rule, I would push it back to maybe the 11th inning, just kind of give you a little bit of a normalcy with maybe the 9th and the 10th, and then after the 11th inning, put the man on second base. I don't mind that so much. I guess the relief issue with the 3 batters, I think it kind of gets in a little bit of way of puts managers in a tough spot, kind of hamstrings them a little bit. That's just my take on it for the most part. But I think that what they're doing is just trying to get everybody more involved and speed the game up a little bit. I think the game, for the most part, is okay the way it is my opinion. But I think that some of what he's doing, it has some teeth to it, and we'll see how it plays out as we move forward. But there's some things I like about it. I think that if it was up to me, I'd ban the shift because I think guys are not taking advantage of that. But that's just my take on it because I'm a little more old school, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think I'm as knowledgeable as Willie to go into the specifics of the rule, but I will go more in general terms, in terms of saying that this is a philosophical question, and in terms of what are we going to do with this issue of time, and how we can adjust to the moving of this country and society having less and less time to enjoy the things that they do enjoy. I mean, I remember a time where time was not a factor. And I think the one thing that I loved about the game of baseball is, to this day, that there's no time limit. You own time. You own time in the batter's box. You own time. This is your time. And people enjoy that whole, sort of stopping of this, passing of time where you can enjoy this great sport. But times are changing, and the game has to change with those times. I am not in a position to determine which of these changes are going to be the best for the game, but I think the philosophical question is time, and how do we perceive time, and how do we, make sure that the game that we love, that we have learned to appreciate over all this time, is not changed in its essence because of our efforts to change the time. I think it's just one of the things that makes the game the way it is. And if we meddle with that a lot, then we might be playing a different game. So, I don't know. This is a good conversation to have, and I think it's going to have legs because it's going to be determined by what the public wants, what the fans want, and try not to change the game so we were playing something other than baseball, in like 5-10 years,
And Moose and Maggie, the doubleheader situation, I'm kind of on the fence on that a little bit because on one hand, like the other night, I think it was Bumgarner, could have had a no-hitter, but wasn't granted that because he only played 7 innings. I think that it helps the bullpens in the long run, I think, because, you have a long day where it could tax your bullpen. And as a manager, that could take you back a couple of days or have to go down to the AAA. So the doubleheader situation, I think that we kind of play that out a little bit and in a year or so revisit that and see if that's something they should keep going.
Man, that's amazing, and we love those answers. And hearing Bernie talk about time, I'm like, how do I spend my time? Scrolling. Scrolling is how I spend my time, and I think probably all of us spend a little too much time scrolling. But again, that's a conversation for another day.
I spend a lot of time breaking up fights with my kids. That's why I spend. I'm not on the.
Yes, Moose is a referee in this.
That's exactly
in his
right.
Spare
With my
time.
3 sons.
But we've appreciated this time speaking to both of you. We really have. Of course, as Bernie said, you can go to his social media accounts, his Bernie Williams official Instagram, if you want to get more information about the Breathless Ballad campaign. You can also go to Boringer US on Facebook, Boringer US on Instagram as well. And just, have fun with it. And congratulations to the people who have already submitted these amazing songs. To get to record with Bernie Williams would be like a dream come true for anyone. So that's fantastic. Bernie and Willie, thank you guys so much, and we hope that we get to talk with you again soon.
Thank you, guys.
Good having me, guys.
Thank
great
you,
catching
guys.
up with you guys. Glad you guys you look great. Glad everyone's doing well.